Alright, this is the Inspiration Mastery. So before we go any further, why don't we tell us a little bit about what the Inspiration Mastery is?
So, I mean, we have mentioned this a couple of times, which is like, we want like the different play styles of like a player, right, to make sense. So we wanted the tank fantasy, the support fantasy, as well as the DPS fantasy.
The typical like archetypes,
Yeah,
right?
the typical archetypes. So, offense and is usually done very well in most games, right?
Just hit them.
It's just hits, right? So tank is something that we tackled, and you have seen like in maybe in the future we also talk more about this if you are doing armor mastery in the future. And support is actually the one of the hardest one that we had to tackle in our when we were doing the designs, because support, if you it will be too strong or too weak. So inspiration was one of the ways we designed to make support being a playable fantasy in that sense lah. So you could play a support class from level 1 all the way to level 5 lah. So you just using inspiration.
Right.
So that was the whole design philosophy for inspiration lah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was meant to be our dedicated support focus kind of like backline oriented mastery. Not to say that you can't be frontline. You can obviously be frontline with this, and you will see why later on. But it is generally designed to be more of a backline thing. Right. So you can think about like bards, clerics, guys who will generally not be going out in front to get hit.
You will generally not be using or fighting at all. Like you want to conserve your stamina points for like actually using your inspiration skills, like your support skills, which you will see later on, like why, like the reasons as for example like stamina core, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep. It is it's very much so an active kind of support rather than something that is more like aura focus or passively granting things to your allies. It is a very kind of like aggressive, instant, reactive kind of support. All right. Okay, let's swap this over here. And the description, as always, a little bit small. I shall read it out for you. If you want, you can zoom in. I'm not sure. I think it should be 1080 on the stream. All right. Inspiration. With banner in hand, rally your allies on the battlefield with unshakable resolve of your booming voice and commanding presence, right? So you bolster courage, coordinate tactics, and intimidate enemy foes, turning the tide of battle with a single war cry, right? The mastery and inspiration, right? It's focused on, as we mentioned now, support-oriented skills in the form of shouts. So, I think currently all of them require your voice. So your voice is the weapon here in the inspiration tree, right? So you're shouting at your allies, giving orders, not commands specifically. So commands is a tag that we have in a beast tree. Commands are used to command minions, whereas here shouts are kind of a general like voice mechanic that is not magical. Right?
So the differentiation, one way you can differentiate is, right, commands are usually for someone who is under you. Shouts are usually for someone who is with you. In that sense, yeah.
Or against, it could be, honestly, it could be anything.
So you see that it can be against, it can be for against you as well.
Shouts are the more generic version of the voice techniques, whereas command is very specifically a voice technique for your minions. Alright. The core attribute of inspiration is charm. Well, so this is your typical like charisma, the way you speak, the way you hold yourself. So very fitting. It is similar to magic in that sense, in which it has a core casting attribute, but not as impactful because inspiration doesn't have any attacks. There's no strikes on inspiration currently.
It will be impactful because, I mean, you'll see later in the description, but it's impactful in a very different way. Yeah.
It scales the effect rather than your role. Yeah. Okay, so inspiration skills, there are 5 here. Your choice node is at rank 1. So quick recap, rank 0 means that you have spent 0 points in this skill. So this is your first skill that you take. Rank 1 means you have spent 1 point, and so on and so forth.
Oh no, this one has double choice nodes.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. So inspiration has no rank 3.
Yes.
We nerfed it.
Yeah.
Buffed it. It's a buff.
We buffed it. Yeah.
So you have a choice node at rank 1 and a choice node at rank 2, right? Okay, moving on. We have the typical suggestions here. So the suggestions are, well, as I just mentioned, there are suggestions as to what are some possible power fantasies or archetypes that you can play using the Inspiration Mastery. Here we have the Inspirant and the Commander. So the Inspirant is your traditional bard, right? You wear light armor. It is purely inspiration. You're just singing at people, shouting at people, right? And it's sending out buffs, giving bonuses to your allies, and all the good stuff, right? And now Commander, right? So what's the difference between Commander and Inspirant? So just now we mentioned, well, generally you're not going to be standing in the front line, but you could, right? So the Commander is someone, if you want to play inspiration, like a support character who's on the front line, thing like Tarek from League of Legends or something like that, right? Or like Alistar, right? So this is someone who's using Inspiration Sentinel, which we haven't gone through yet, but Sentinel is a shield mastery, right? So you can hold a shield, hold banner, wear heavy armor, full armor, charge in, right? Ignore the small little hits and just shout at your allies, giving them buffs, standing right next to them, right? So, okay, that is the description. Is there anything else you want to add before we jump right into the first skill?
Yeah, nothing. This is pretty straightforward. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Skill number 1. This is Strike True, and it has a token to it.
Yes. So you notice? Actually, no, not really. I think is this the only one that has token?
Yes. For inspiration, this is the only one with a token.
Okay. So you notice that quite a lot of these are very buff focused lah. So it will be quite common you see boon and shout as like the tags.
the two tags.
So once again I'm going to go through like the component of the of how it's written here lah. So the first one is Strike True, which
before that, here's a reference of what the cards look like, as always. Here you go.
Yeah, so Strike True, the name of the skill, and it's a boon and a shout. So boon, right, is usually a buff that you either you give or you gain. Yeah. Then shout is the type of skill this is lah. Yeah. Then the skill type is a technique. The SP cost, which is the stamina point cost. So AoA runs on a stamina point system, and this will cost 2 stamina points. And I think this is one of the few skills. This is one of the few level 0 skills that is 2 stamina points.
Yes. Yeah. So for some reference, all of the other masteries, the rank 0 skills are
quite cheap.
Generally like the basic attack of the mastery.
Beast also, but because you know.
Yes, yeah, beast you have to summon your beast. Yeah. That's right.
But you use that outside of combat anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So for Strike True, it's a 2 SP cost. So at low levels, this is basically all your SP. You have no other SP after this, right? At level 3 onwards, you have 3 SP, so this will take up 2 of your 3 SP.
So then moving forward, carry on. The mastery requirement here is Inspiration 0. So this is the first skill that you can get in the Inspiration tree. Then the requirement here is voice. So just now you were saying like shouts and stuff like that, right? It's actually not really shouting. You can just speak.
Yeah.
Right. So it's require you using your voice lah. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not specific like you must shout in like. For in like RP scenario, you're not going to shout. Yeah,
you don't have to literally shout. And everybody is like, Strike True! Yeah, right? No. As long as they can hear you.
Then after that, MP cost, which is the mastery point cost. So this is the cost of learning this skill, which is 1. Yeah. So what are the effects? So the effect here is right, shout at up to 1 plus charisma. Charm.
Yes, charm.
Creature within 30 feet of you who can hear your voice, including yourself, granting them inspired. So just now we were mentioning like how the charisma modifier here are actually more not really damaging wise. It's more impactful in that it increases the amount of people that is affected by your shouts. And this is a common theme that you see in like the other skills later on lah. Yeah. So going back to the skill, so inspired. So what is inspired? So inspired is a token that when you use this spell, when you use Strike True, you give this token out to the other players or yourself if you give it to yourself. This token. So this token will show what is the actual effect of inspired. So inspired here, right, is when you make a strike and before you roll, you may set 1 dice to 6, and doing that consumes this token lah. So yeah. Quite straightforward for this skill.
Alright, so as mentioned just now, charm does not scale in terms of your strike. It does not scale in terms of your blast difficulty, right? Which is traditionally your saving throw difficulty, right, or
Mm.
your spellcast DC, right. In this case, for inspiration, a lot of the scaling comes from charm directly scaling the effect. So inspiration is one of those masteries that is more heavily affected by your choice of attributes. If you choose to go with like a low charm character and you go inspiration, you are probably not going to benefit very much from this mastery. It is one of those specific specialized mastery, thus specialist masteries, right? Okay, let's take a quick look at the effect again. So it's a shout, yes. You have to say the words strike true. Well, your character has to say, you don't have to say it, right? At up to 1 plus charm creatures within 30 feet of you. So the more charm you have, the more creatures you can shout at, right? Within 30 feet of you. So this emanation can be up, down, as long as they can hear you, right? Then you grant them inspired. So one of the reasons that we went with inspired as a token rather than just being part of the card is that inspired is something that can be used outside of combat, and the effect is really specific, as you'll see in the next few cards. The inspired effect is very niche compared to typical mechanics. For example, if a command were to just say, "Oh, you can use another attack," we would not make it a token. However, because this effect is so specific to strike true, we have chosen to make it an additional token, which is an additional card, which you can hand out to the people who have received this boon, right? So when it comes to inspired as an effect, when you make a strike, before you roll, you may set one dice to 6. What this means is that strikes is you roll 2d6 and then you add the number together and you beat the target difficulty, which is their evasion, right? Having the ability to set 1 to 6 simply means that, well, of your 2d6, 1 is already a 6. You just need to roll 1. If you have advantage, well, you set 1 to 6 and you roll the rest of the dice, right? What this also means for a lot of strikes generally is that strikes have a great success effect and a critical success effect, which come into play when 1 or 2 of the dices are natural 6s. Or if you set a 6, it counts as well.
Natural, yeah.
So it will set 1 to 6, instantly granting you a great success effect. This can be potentially a really powerful opener in just about every scenario in which you have strikes. If you don't have strikes, this is useless, right? So generally everybody has a strike because you have a basic attack. If you have a weapon, you can strike someone with it, right? So just treat your strikes in all scenarios as a basic attack of some sort, or a generic weapon attack or spell attack. Right. Anything before I move on here?
Nothing. This is quite straightforward. Yeah.
Okay. Now, skill number 2, hold the line.
So this is the first choice that you will choose lah. So hold the line. So it's similar to strike through. It's boon and shout. Here the standard cost is cheaper. It's only at 1, and it requires strike through to already be taken lah before you can choose this skill. Then the learning cost is also 1 here, and requirements here is also using a voice lah. So what it does is you shout at up to 1 plus charm creatures within 30 feet of you who can hear your voice, including yourself.
So you see the trend here, right?
Yeah. So you see like the charm modifiers again, increasing the potency. Not potency, increasing the effects radius, amount of people that you can buff. Yeah. Then granting them 1 armor till the start of your next turn.
Alright. For reference, armor is damage reduction, straight flat damage reduction. If someone hits you for 4, 1 armor makes it 3. Right. So yes, it's a boon shout. The cost is much lower here. So this is one of those things that we had to tune a little bit. Hold the line used to be 2 SP. It was terrible because you would have to use this preemptively, right? And you just would never do it because it would just do damage instead of minusing 3 damage, 4 damage. Potentially more, but depends on who you're fighting, right? How many enemies there are and whatnot.
How often they strike also. Yeah.
Yep. However, in this version of it right now, with its 1 stamina point cost, shouting and grunting everybody 1 plus charm creatures, which typically is gonna be 3 creatures. If you go for an inspiration character, you probably have 2 charm. So a little bit of background here is that when you create your character, the highest stat you can create or assign at level 1 is +2. It can go higher at other levels, but at level 1 is +2, right? which means that the highest you can go for a charm is 3, right? So it's 1 plus 2. So here you have 3 here. So you can shout up to 3 creatures within 30 feet of you. It grants them 1 armor till the start of your next turn. So what does this mean is that we don't have individual turn orders. It's player turns, enemy turn, and then scene turn, and then back to player turn again. So that means that no matter what, all of the enemies will get to go after your turn, or well, your player turn, and they will have their chance to basically make use of your your 1 bonus armor for the 3 people who have benefited from this boon, right? That can potentially be very powerful. There's also nothing stating that you can't use this more than once, so that's a possibility, right? And in a scenario where, let's just say you have like many small creatures and they all do like 2-3 damage per hit, this can potentially just make you invulnerable. So there's a lot of stalling possible with this skill. Let's just put it that way. However, it does cost 1 SP, so you are just prolonging the fight, essentially.
Also, like if you use this and you have no other skills, right, you're basically going to do a normal melee strike, or you're just moving around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for this skill?
Another straightforward skill.
Right. Okay. A little less straightforward.
Yeah, so this is the other choice that you can make. So on my mark, so this is a bait. So for what's that word called again? To recap, bait, right, is a debuff that you will place or you get or you receive lah. So basically, it's the opposite of a boon. Basically, right? So it's a technique, and here the cost is 2 again, right?
Yeah.
And it requires inspiration 1, which means you choose between hold the line or on my mark here. And requirement here is you have to use your voice, and learning point cost here is also 1. So the effect of this, right, is actually you shout at the target you can see, and all creatures within 30 feet of you who can hear your voice, including yourself, gain an advantage on strikes against the target until the start of your next turn. So this is basically a skill that you use at the very start of your player's turn.
Yeah. So you have your entire player round, right? And then that means that all of the players can go in between each other at any point in time.
Correct.
So if you know that all of your allies are gonna be striking this one target, using on my mark on this one target, that can potentially add 1 advantage die on every single strike.
So to recap on what's advantage, right? So advantage is in AoA, because we are a 2d6 game. So advantage here is just adding additional d6 for every advantage that you have and taking the 2 highest lah.
Yep.
And if you have a disadvantage, then it's also
Vice
the same
versa.
thing, but you just take the 2 lowest.
Yep.
Yeah. So advantage here stacks indefinitely lah. Infinitely.
Yes.
Infinitely. So this means you can go like 10 advantages, so that is like 12d6, stuff like that. So if you have previously watched our archery video, right, we have talked about this before, which is they have a very specific skill that grants advantage to themselves. So this stacks with on my mark.
Yeah. Or rather, every advantage stacks together.
Yeah. So that is so that's where you can see like synergies coming in as well. And this also comes in with like, for example, like what we mentioned just now, which is if you use strike through and then you set 1 to 6 and then you have advantage, so you roll 2d6 now, and you really have 1 as a 6, so you have a higher chance of getting a critical success now. Yeah. So do note that this applies only on strikes also. Yeah.
I think at this point, if you have seen some of the previous other masteries, you have noticed that advantage is not particularly difficult to obtain, right? And that's part of the design philosophy that we have here for attacks and strikes, which is that if you set up your scenario well, you are more than likely going to land an attack. Evasion plays a part, yes, and evasion will I would say generally be on the higher side on average. Per unit, they are above 7, so you roll 2d6 is like 2 to 12, right? So if you're not wearing armor, most evasion ratings will be above 8 and above, right?
Above, yeah.
So you are, if you don't have any addition, you're more likely to miss. But then if you have any advantage at all, you are more likely to hit. right? And this scales higher and higher exponentially because you can stack more and more advantage. And that is the design philosophy, to land more attacks, right? And it's also to take advantage of more deterministically increasing the result of your attack rather than through a damage roll by rolling a single six or double sixes.
So you notice that is very tied into our initial like ideology of like combat, which is like a more tactical focus.
Yes.
So this is like trying to give players like more synergistic skills and like ways to play the game. Like
and a bit more control
Yeah.
over whether or not something lands. Of course,
mm,
there's still
you're still at the mercy of dice.
yeah, still a phenomenally low chance of missing your attack, right? It is possible if you roll like 6 d6s and all of them roll 1, well, too bad, right?
Then you need to get
That's
your dice-
unlikely to happen, but
you need to get your dices check.
It's possible, right? But
Yeah.
we do err on the side of landing more attacks rather than missing,
Mm.
right? To just kind of push combat a little bit more,
Yeah.
to speed it up and to increase the amount of damage that happens throughout all of combat, right? Okay. A quick mark on my mark is that all creatures within 30 feet of you, right? So your allies have to hear you, and your target has to know that he's being marked, right? So it goes both ways. That means that this is not so much of like a super far range support, but more so someone who's in the midst of the fight. So standing somewhere within 30 feet of everybody else, and then you'll be like, hey, everybody, hit that guy, right? And then all of your allies striking that one guy. That could be companions as well. So that could be your fellow party members' minions, because they also count as an ally, right? And this applies to all creatures. There's no limit here.
So you notice that is this the only skill? Yeah. This is the only skill that has no like
Charm scaler.
charm scaler here. Yeah. So this is pretty powerful. I think this was used to be higher also.
This used to be inspiration 2, yes.
Yeah, this used to be 2.
Yes.
It
But
became 1.
the SP cost was also lower.
Yeah.
So we increased the SP cost. It's a powerful skill, but it's also 2 SP. Right. Okay. Anything before we move on?
Nope.
Alright, this one we're moving pretty fast.
Yeah.
Not too many new mechanics here.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of going through what inspiration might look like. Skill number 4, Shake It Off. If you're familiar with some MMOs, you might recognize the name.
Yeah.
So, okay, what is Shake It Off?
So Shake It Off is so you know this is the only, it only has a single tag here with shout. Yeah. Because it's neither a buff or a bane or a boon lah. Yeah. So it's a technique, and the cost here is also 2, and inspiration here is 2. So this is the second choice skill lah. Second, yeah. In the level 2 range, the another choice skill. Yeah. Then requirement here is voice, and the learning cost here is 1. Yeah. So what it does is you will shout at up to 1 plus charisma creatures within 30 feet of you who can hear your voice, including yourself, then healing them for 2 plus charisma and plus 1 for
Charm.
every
Charm.
and plus 1 for every hostile creatures within range. So how this actually work in a combat scenario will be, right? Let's take for example, you have like 2 charm, right? So you are looking at 3 targets here lah, right? So 3 targets is, you can choose any 3. The healing here will be 2 plus 2, so that is 4 heal base. And let's say for example you have like 5 enemies nearby, correct? So that means you're healing for 4 plus 5.
Yep.
So total for a total of 9.
Yeah.
So there is a double scalar here in that you have your own modifier scalar as well as like a scalar based on how many enemies that you're facing. So it's kind of, I think this is one of the few skills that is quite math heavy in that sense, where you have to do like multiple addition and additions only. Yeah, there's no subtraction here. Yeah.
Let me think. For Shake It Off, this ties in a lot to our healing philosophy behind AoA, which is heals should be big and impactful, but they don't happen that often. This can be kept in a various amount of ways, right? So the main one is that you have vitality. Every time you're healed, you lose vitality, and if you keep losing vitality, you eventually gain fatigue, eventually killing you, right? So you can't constantly heal infinitely. which is why we are allowed to make heals really strong. You will find that heal. So there are two main heal skills in the basic set, right? Which is a Radiant Strike, which is the Radiance version of the heal, and then Shake It Off, which is this version of the heal. Now, Radiant Strike is baseline a better heal. You're probably gonna heal more just doing a Radiant Strike on a single target. Shake It Off is worse if you are, well, okay, it's good in the sense that you heal multiple people, right? And the more enemies there are, the bigger your heal. However, if there aren't many enemies and you only need to heal one guy, Shake It Off is worse, right? So there's a huge payoff if your conditions are good, but generally it's a worse heal. So that's kind of the difference between Radiant Strike and Shake It Off currently, right? Situationally, Shake It Off can massively potentially like a massive heal, right? This could be like there are scenarios where you have 10 enemies around you, and then you can heal 14 to each person, up to what, like 3 targets. That's a 42 HP heal in total, right? In terms of value, that will blow a Radiant Strike way out of the water.
And that will basically heal you to max at even at level 5?
Depends on how much vitality you have. Bigger. So that's kind of the idea that we have behind heals. Big heals, they don't happen often, and when they do, they should feel like they really matter, right? And especially when the situation is great and you use it, it should feel impactful and powerful, right? It's one of the issues that we have in some other TTRPGs where heals can feel a bit like you're just fighting against the
use it to stall
the tide of damage, right? Like if you're using a heal in combat, it feels bad. If you use a heal outside of combat, you're like, okay, you're using a spell slot or you're not. Like it feels like you're making the wrong decision using a heal in combat, especially. So Shake It Off, the design here is that we want it to be something that you use in combat, right? Thus, there's a hostile creature scaler, and then there's also this thing where you have to be near your people, right? And it also scales with your charm, just a little bit, just a bit of a baseline. It didn't used to have the charm scaler.
It used to just be like, I think plus
I think
2 or
it
plus
was
3
like a flat.
No, but there was for every hostile, but that number was bigger, like way bigger. I think it was like plus 3.
No, not plus 3. Plus 3 was insane.
I remember it was insane.
I think it was like plus 2.
This skill used to be the level 3 skill.
Yeah. Shake It Off used to be
it used to be
a rank 3 skill, and we knocked it down a bit just so that people can access it a bit earlier, right? In case you want to do some kind of a melee, like paladin multi-class, where you're jumping in and then you are striking, but you also want to heal your allies, right? It creates for some potentially interesting archetypes that I'm not sure are so common in other RPGs in general, right?
I think in games in general it's also not common.
Yeah. Like the aggressive support archetype is not that common in.
It's pretty rare.
In RPGs. Yeah. I mean, we don't talk about like MOBAs and League of Legends and Dota and stuff like that, because that's like its own thing, right? Everybody has to do damage.
They're literally roles also.
Yeah. Whereas here, you kind of, this is just a single utility tool in your entire belt, right? Okay, let's move on to the last skill, which is the rank 5 skill, and that is Charge. Charge is I think Charge looks very it looks very harmless at the start, but this thing gets out of hand pretty quickly.
This skill was problematic.
I wouldn't call it problematic.
It was problematic in that we keep changing it like multiple times. Like this single skill changed like a lot.
Yeah,
like compared to Inspiration was actually our.
We go into the skill.
We go into the
Let's
skill.
talk about what Charge is.
Let's talk about skills. So what Charge is, right, is it's only a shout. So the tag here is only a shout. So the type is technique, and the stamina cost here is 1. So this is the choice note between Shake It Off and Charge lah. Then requirement here is voice, and the learning cost here is 1. So what it does is you shout at 1 plus charm again. Creatures within 15 feet. So this is a bit like half of all the other range.
Closer and closer.
Very closer. Already. Yeah. So who can hear your voice, including yourself, granting them a move action at no stamina cost. So what this actually how would this be utilized in combat is like you have players who don't want to spend a stamina, to move. So you use this skill and basically they get a free move. So
Yeah.
this means that they can reserve their stamina for more offensive stuff. So this is like kind of the pinnacle image of what a support is, which is they help people to do more damage. Right? Like this is a very indirect way.
yeah.
This is the most indirect way to do more damage.
Yep.
Like you're not granting them advantage, you're not granting them like increase like setting a dice to 6, correct? I'm basically what this does is I'm giving you 1 stamina. Yeah. If you are moved lah.
If you were going to move, I'm
yeah.
giving you 1 free stamina
Correct.
right now.
But if you don't move, then this is useless.
Okay, so quick look at the effect. So shout at 1 plus charm, as mentioned, within 15 feet of you, so much closer, much more of the commander archetype. Right, can hear your voice, yes. So they can't be deafened, you can't be silenced, you can't gag someone and then you can use it, right? Granting them a move action at no stamina cost. So let's take a look at this move action right here. So granting them a move action at no stamina cost means that this move action is dependent on the recipient's move speed, right? If they are a claimant, they have short legs, they have 25 feet of movement speed. If they are riding a wolf, it has the wolf's movement speed, right? If they are, if they have some kind of like a buff, they're wearing light armor, they have swift, they have, they have some bonus passive movement speed buffs, right? All of that applies, right? Which means that there's a possibility where if you are the buffer, you are using charge, and you have your allies around you, they may be running at different speeds. Eventually, it might desync, right? This is
if they move at their full movement speed, yes.
You don't have to all run
Correct.
maximum. You don't have to use your entire move action.
Yeah.
You can move like 15 feet, and then next round that you want to move a bit more, you also can do that, right? If you want to maintain this position. But the whole goal behind charge and the design philosophy is that this is something where it's like, okay, mobilize, right? We want to use this 1 SP here. I am dedicating 3 of my inspiration points to get to this point, right? And using this ability to mobilize my team, right? Now, how powerful is mobility in AoA? Because AoA is a SP, like stamina point based game, you use 1 SP when you move, which means that potentially everybody can move a lot. There's nothing really stopping you from moving more than once a turn. Imagine having 2 dashes, or 1 dash at low level and 2 dashes every single round past level 3, right? Level 3 onwards. Which means that mobility it's strong, but it's not the be-all end-all in AoA compared to other TTRPGs where you only have a single move action or maybe 2 move actions. So mobility is much more limited in those games. However, in AoA, mobility is just kind of like, it's good, especially when there are obstacles. But generally, mobility is just a way for you to get from one point to another.
Mobility in AoE is what I would say is more like a tool and not like how to say, it's not like something that you're forced to do in a sense. Right?
Yeah.
Like because in our case, right, you could use all 3 stamina to move. Right? And we have the rule where you can split your movement. So for example, you have spent 1 stamina, right? So that 1 stamina will cover 30 feet, right? You could move 5 feet and then you do an attack, and then you move the rest like 25 feet, right? Stuff like that.
But more importantly, you can also not move and not use your SP, right? So if you're already on the guy, which is why charge gives you a free SP, right? Which is that if I use charge and my friendly sword guy runs up to another enemy, he now has an additional SP to just wail on the guy, right? There's no compulsory move actions. You can use all of your SP to do attacks and damage, the techniques and spells and all that good stuff, right? Which is why charge is really powerful, because it directly grants SP to people. If they were going to move already. Yes. That's
everyone have moved already, right? And then it's like, have to spend their stamina. And suddenly your mage want to cast a fireball.
Yep.
So this is also a way for them to help them to run out. Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep. So potentially, because we don't have opportunity attacks in the traditional sense, charge is not so dangerous. When there was opportunity attacks, charge basically made the game slow down. Because you would have people running past everybody, right? Everybody trying to strike
Yeah.
this one fella here, strike one fella there, right?
We did remove opportunity attack pretty early on also lah.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was
That was something that
very muddy.
it slows
Yeah.
everything down, and also the fact that it has to use an SP, it's
Mm.
basic attack, it's not a skill. Like, is it
Mm.
worth using if you're using a basic attack rather than using your skills and techniques,
Mm.
right? And so that is why charge is the way it is right now. Right?
Mm.
Very powerful. Potentially busted, I would say. I think Inspiration has some very dangerous skills here.
Yeah.
They can easily break your game if you give them the opportunity to set it up. But I think that is something that is worth having. Like
And,
that
and
cost.
actually that is also something that we want players to do, which is we want players to feel powerful when they use certain skills, when they play certain like fantasy, because
Yep.
if not, what's the point? Right?
Yes,
Then
yes.
you shouldn't even bother playing, right? If you can't feel good, if you can't feel strong, right, then just you always just do a quote unquote a meta pick or meta like gameplay style, which means right you have certain skills that's like unused. And that's not what we want here. We want players to use like the whole variety of skills. We want players to actually like brainstorm and think through like what do they want. So that's why we have multiple systems, which is like respecking stuff like that to help players to like on the fly, not say on the fly, but kind of on the fly, change around like how they want to approach their gameplay for the day.
At least
or for the sessions.
between adventuring days, right?
Yeah, correct.
So for some reference, when you take a rest, this can be a short rest, can be a long rest, and all that stuff. You can choose to redistribute your mastery points without unlearning a mastery. So if you have 3 inspiration, 2 flame, you want to swap between that, you can have like 1 inspiration, 4 flame, or reduce your flame from 2 to 1 and then put 4 in inspiration. You can do that. You can also choose to swap out the skills that you have learned. So you can think about them as kind of like preparing your spells in the day, right? But this allows for you to swap between skills that you might find that is not so necessary in the upcoming fight. I'll give you an example. If you're going to do a defensive kind of like siege wall thing, maybe charge is not the best idea, right? Maybe you want on my mark. That's something that might be really good if you're fighting a large creature that you can see in the distance. You know, he's within range of you. You shout your allies cannot fire, right? However, perhaps your entire party is someone who's very aggressive. They want to charge into the middle of the battlefield. Then okay, maybe you swap out on my mark for a charge instead. Perhaps you don't need a heal. Maybe your party is offensively very strong and they don't want it. You can swap out, shake it off. You can hold the line. You can don't want to hold the line. You can just swap out on my mark. So there is a possibility here where your preparation of spells is much, or your skills is a much larger component of your adventuring day compared to if you were to just have to learn a skill and have it be fixed, right? And this applies for all your skills. This can apply for martial, it can apply for magic, it can apply for specialist. The only thing it doesn't apply for is race.
Yeah, not race.
Yeah, you can't change your race skill. That is where we draw the line, right? Once you are a certain race, you are a certain race, right?
That's also the
that
reason why race is technically not a mastery in that case.
I mean, it is a mastery.
It is, but it's not under like the armor or like the martial.
It is its own thing.
Yeah, it's still a mastery. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
So it is the same reason why we have racial skills use racial points rather than mastery points, because mastery points are for masteries.
Correct.
And then racial points are for racials. They are still technically masteries, but they are in the sense that you get a card, you know, they look exactly the same, but they do not use the same points.
You get certain effects.
Yes. So to more accurately put it, you are respecing your mastery points. Yeah. But you cannot unlearn the mastery. That's the one rule. So, okay, we have gone through all of the skills. So I'll just quickly go back and take a look at support as a design philosophy in general. When we design the support archetype for AoA, and this goes beyond just inspiration at this point. This goes to radius, goes to sentiment, goes to all of the support things. One thing that we really wanted to target was that we wanted active gameplay. We didn't want things that were, I apply a single buff on you and then that's it. We wanted something that was...
You always apply the same buff.
Yeah, at least something that would make you pay a bit more attention every single round or every single turn, rather than I apply 6 minutes, go, right? Where we have that kind of design space is in enchantments. Enchantments last basically forever, right? Whereas things like imbues and boons and stuff, they are something that generally are temporary and they get replaced or removed upon completing this action. So you can think about in the case of a strike through, right? Actually, I just realized strike through is no longer called inspire; it's called true strike.
Oh,
Yeah. So strike through, the token is called true strike now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
No, it
think that.
used to be called inspiration.
Yeah, it used to be inspiring shout.
Inspiring shout.
Yes. Yeah.
That's true.
So strike through as an example is a boon that grants you a singular effect, and then this effect is consumed upon using your strike, right? And those are the kind of boons and supportive mechanics that we want, which is that you aggressively apply. You think about, okay, this guy is going to do from action to action. You're thinking your ally is going to strike. This guy is going to charge in. He needs a bit more armor, and that is what we want to achieve. And through playtests and different kinds of iterations through our support skills, I think we've come to something that is
I'm pretty happy with.
I think we're pretty happy with it, and it's very aggressively supportive. I'll give you an example. In World of Warcraft versus Final Fantasy 14, right, as MMOs, right? Healers in FF14 are much more. They predict the flow of a fight because the fights are scripted, right? And then they would pre-plan their skills and then just DPS most of the time. However, in World of Warcraft, healing is much more reactive, right? And what we like is the reactive part of it, which means that you can go full on into this kind of supportive mindset, right? Things come, you go fast, right? And then every single round, you're thinking about, okay, like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Not, okay, I'm going to plan this thing, and then 6 minutes later, call me back, right? 10 rounds later, call me back, right? Which is what we get in some other RPGs. Yeah. And when we get to it, if we get to it, you'll see in Sentinel. Sentinel is our most aggressive support, which is the shield, right?
So actually, I think when we first started support skills, right, the two core mastery that we were non-compromising on this to release for this set, the basic set, is inspiration and shield. I remember that was like the most uncompromising stand that the both of us had, because we were like, we want players to play support and feel good, because we in other TTRPG, like when you play like supports, right, it doesn't feel like a main role. It feels like you're there, right? It doesn't feel.
It falls into the similar trap of what Final Fantasy 14 has, which is that you would pre-buff people, right, and you would pre-heal people, and then you just focus on doing more damage, right? And that is not what we want. We want people to, instead of focusing on the damage part, which you still can use, you can still focus on damage, but we want it to become like, okay, I am trying to sacrifice my SP to either make you do more damage, or to make the enemy do less damage, or to buff everybody, right? So that is the kind of the goal that we want to have here, right?
I mean, obviously in the future when we release more skills, there might be certain skills that's less aggressive and more like similar to Radiant with their aura, stuff like that. We might have those, but I think that would be in like the minority stuff. So like, it'll be like very very little, because because passive in AoE is pretty strong. Right? Like it's I mean, it's not only in AoE, but I think in most games, auras and passive are just strong, right? In general, because they don't require any like thinking. It's always there. Right?
If it doesn't require any thinking, I'll go as far as to say, like, why is it there? Like, is this something that we just chose to put on just because? And it's a passive effect, because that's kind of something that belongs to the field of magical items, right? Magical items are something that we want to have a bit less of an active thing, right? It's more there to supplement your power fantasy or your archetype that you wish to achieve, rather than to completely dominate your decision making.
Right? Which you will see like from like all the martial skills you see, right? It's like they are usually like the main effect, and any weapons that you have is a supplementary effect to these skills that you have, correct? So that's why it's like, requires a martial to use the martial weapon, stuff like that. The main effect is still from the skill itself, and not like the weapon, correct? So that is a very clear design decision as well as like a core ideology we have for combat in general, which is we want the skills to be the important part.
Yep.
Yeah.
The actions rather than a
Mm.
bunch of stacking things and conditions that
Alright.
drive it forward.
Even the aura and all this, right? It's like I think when we put in the radiant aura, we were very like questionable about it at first.
As in what, resolve?
No, radiance.
Yeah,
the
resolve.
aura.
Aura
Resolve.
resolve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
aura resolve. Yeah.
But I think for aura resolve,
Mm.
auras in general, they cannot have a large radius.
Mm.
If your radius is too large, there's no decision to be made here. You just
Correct.
always, you're always there. You stand around your allies, right? But
Mm.
if the radius is much smaller, then you have to make this decision. Do I have to move? What about my allies who are ranged? Like should they receive the aura versus the frontline guys, right?
So there's also
Or you can all tower together. Well,
Mm.
there's an option.
So there's also something that you see in charge where it's slightly smaller because it requires players to be like when
Yep.
they use this to be like more conscious.
It's the same mindset.
Yeah,
same
it's the same
design,
mindset. Yeah. So it's like usually most inspiration will be like 30 feet, stuff like that. But like the stronger and like the more focused type one, I'm like 15, stuff like that. Yeah. Then you might also get like the more generic ones. Maybe in the future it's like, the more generic ones like maybe 60 feet. Right? Stuff like that. Yeah. So it really depends on what is the purpose as well as like what is the usage of this skill. Yeah.
Yep. For the roleplay side of inspiration, just a little bit of a dive here is that when we designed the inspiration mastery, a lot of it was to encapsulate this bard style gameplay where it's kind of magical, not exactly magical, whimsical. You have charm, right, and you're still supporting your allies and whatnot. However, initially when we were designing it, simply having the bard as a singular kind of power fantasy did not quite fit what we were trying to do. It was not generic enough in that sense. It did not cover enough archetypes. And so we decided to move on to something that is more all-encompassing, right? Which is why even though it's all shouts, it's technically words. It's more like power words, right? And they require your voice. So the only conditions here are charm and voice, right? And this allows you to do things like blade singing and stuff, like war chants, commands, all those kind of things start coming into the possibility, and that's why it is inspiration rather than music or bard, right? However, there is also a possibility in the future because we are thinking about it right now, which is that what if you don't have to use your voice? What if there's alternative forms of performing these shouts? But currently in the basic set, it is only using your voice.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you want to be a traditional bard, inspiration is it. You don't have to actually play your bard as if you were shouting at someone. It could be like they sing a little song or a little like jingle, and then the jingle has strike through within it, right? Or maybe like a poem, right? You can imagine them using like hold the line, and on my mark, and it forms like a little poem, and that's the 3 SP that you have used, which is your 6 seconds, right? Your 6 seconds in a round that has weaved in this little poem. Because you've used 3 SP, you can't move radio, right? Or you could use charge, hold the line, and then you charge again or something like that, and it's weaved into a kind of song. Versus if you want to play like the commander, which is the suggestion we have, right? It could have been literally just charge, hold the line, and charge, right? Both possibilities, both power fantasies are possible using the inspiration mastery. Yeah.
So inspiration is also like it was also kind of so going back to the bard topic lah. So the bard, right, when we were doing that whole initial like conceptualization as well as like trying to come up with ideas of like what inspiration, like what a support character could be. Bard was obvious pick, correct? But like what you said, we found bard to be too specific.
Yeah.
So we didn't like I didn't like the way that it's only like tied to music and stuff like that. Like it's very stifling for a design perspective. So it's like that was when I was like looking around and seeing like how would a support character be like. So looking at like commander, stuff like that. Yeah.
On a quick note, we designed this before Paragon was a thing in Guild Wars 2. We did not look at Paragon, alright?
We designed a lot of these skills before the entire expansion came out.
Yes, if
It was-
if one day we publish the design doc for this thing, it's like in 2024. Right?
Yes.
This came out before Paragon. So if anybody is watching from the future and they're like, hey, it looks suspiciously like Paragon in Guild Wars. Yeah, we designed this before Paragon, right? It just so happened that, Shouting Warrior is a thing.
I mean, okay. So this is very game design specific, which is like a lot of these skills you see, it's like you also see in like most MMOs, but it's like games come out later, come out earlier, like the timing is like so weird. It's like I think some of the skills we were seeing, right, and then we see in like WoW Midnight Expansion, and
Yeah.
it's like when we look at it, like shit, that's exactly the same skill that we had.
It's like a synchronized design
Yeah,
brainwave like kind of thing going on there.
Yeah. So it's like yeah, like what you said, we did design all this quite a while back. Yeah.
Mm-mm. Yep. Okay. Do we have anything else to add for the inspiration mastery?
Nothing much. Inspiration, I would honestly want to see people like with now both specialist mastery out, and like basically 2 out of the 3 supports out there. 2? 3? 3? We have 3?
Yeah. I mean, if you count Radiance, then
The
3 out of
Radiance
4.
lah, yeah, Radiance lah. Technically, we have another one lah, but that's not really the
Which one?
mage one.
Which one?
Yes, the one the minion.
Oh, that's not
That's
not
really
that's
not really a support lah. So let's say we have 3 lah. So we have 2 out of 3 supports out there. I'm quite curious to see how people would react to playing support like going forward. Not only in AoA but in like in every other TTRPG, like how would they play support? How would they view support, and like what are their viewpoints lor? Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. Supports are one of the more supports are definitely one of the more well received playtest results that we had. So through our playtest, whenever we will try to get everybody to play at least like one of the archetypes, right? And people who do play inspiration, they do play shield, especially those two, right? They do enjoy that kind of aggressive support style. It is much more impactful than your traditional just using lay on hands or healing people, right? It almost feels like you are playing like this. If you're familiar with like Yumi in League of Legends, right? You're playing this very active, mobile, action heavy, reaction heavy kind of support. Yep. Yeah, like reflavoring it to be a drum or bugle or whatever, as long as I think, because the core of it is what? The core of it is that your allies can hear you and you're able to make noise, right? Perhaps it shouldn't be free that it is that it can be converted into an instrument. Perhaps the instrument needs to be magical of some sort or crafted in a specific way that allows you to, kind of like a loudspeaker or a megaphone, right? Yes, that it is true that instruments were definitely used to convey orders in the past, like specific sound or patterns, right? Horns. And
I mean, that's how we got war drums and stuff like that.
Like war drums, right? That's one of the things we're looking at in the future, which is that perhaps you can have like a megaphone, well, not literally a megaphone, like a horn, right? And then you blow into the horn, and instead of your words coming out, the orders of the horn is the shout itself, right? And yes, like you said, like drums could be certain patterns, but there's a balance consideration there.
Shouting minions.
Well, like a parrot maybe. I think warlocks can do it, where you can speak through your minion, right?
You can cast spells through it or something.
You can cast spells through it, but you cannot speak through your minions, right? So if for example in the future we release like some kind of minion or companion where they are like a separate voice box somewhere and you can shout through your minion.
I mean, it's also basically called mirror image.
Yeah, but mirror image is like that's you. Right?
Yeah lah, but you can double something like that. Yeah.
But if it's like a bird, right, then your bird can fly like a mile away, and then you shout through your bird. Right? You're grunting buffs. Yeah, I mean there are some balance considerations to think about, right?
Yeah.
We do want the numbers and the balance of this to be very tight. There's a very real risk of strong supports just completely stonewalling your damage.
I mean, it happened.
Yeah, I mean originally when the numbers
multiple times
were too high, you can completely just cut off damage completely, which is why we are erring on the side of more often than not does your damage land and it hits and it does something, right? At least there's a kind of a better attrition, right? And also vitality is a very big part about stopping this overly powerful healing thing. Yeah.
That was like context here is also vitality was very early on. It was a very early mechanic. Like we didn't like healing initially.
It wasn't
was-
there from the start.
It was not
It wasn't there
from the start. It was like second patch or something like that. It was quite early, I remember. It was pretty early.
What we have now, I think, is the third or fourth
Correct. But
patch.
the very first idea of it was quite early.
Yep.
Yeah.
So initially it was just okay, you have a flat limit on the number of heals you can have,
Mm.
and then it became like okay, what if this scaled instead? So some people got more vitality, some people got less, and then how do you determine that? And that's where we have it today, which is that it scales to your vigor, so it's a choice, right? Do you want to have only if you have that's like getting a minus, like getting 8 constitution on your D&D character, right? So it's like you have a -1 on your vigor, which means you lose 1 vitality baseline, and then you can only be healed once a day before you start being fatigued, right?
But that was very how to say, we designed that. I mean, first of all, if you dump a stat, there must be consequences.
Yes.
right?
There is a consequence
Yeah.
to dumping every single stat in
Yes.
in AoA.
Because
There's no stat that you can just dump.
you every stat is a decision because we are doing small numbers. So when we were saying like 2, right? Actually the stat actual is also 2. So we are doing 1-to-1. So for example, if
your stat number is your modifier.
Correct. So we are doing, because we're doing a standard array, so like 2 1 1 1 0 minus 1.
2 1 1 0 minus 1.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Then so the numbers are exactly 1-to-1 to your modifier. So if you have to choose, correct? Like obviously if you're playing only inspiration, right? Then your 2 is very obviously going to charm.
Yeah.
You're not going to go anywhere else, correct? Yeah. However, if you take inspiration and you dump charm, so
yeah, that's not wise.
If you look at the skill, right, it was 1 plus charm. So that means you're not doing anything.
Yeah, you can't even you can't even shout at yourself. Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah. So there is a possibility of making a bad decision here. Right?
But we do try to provide as many ways to not go into that position. Yeah.
Ideally.
Ideally. Yeah.
But there are some things that we just straight punish if you choose the wrong attribute. Yeah. That's a choice that we have made and we are sticking to it. Okay. And with that has been the 11th episode of Tiny Table Talk. As always, all of our links are in the description below. Pre-launch Kickstarter page, go follow it. Our Discord community channel, our Facebook pages, X, and our Instagram as well.
YouTube.
Right? You're already here on YouTube, so please like, subscribe, drop a comment. It helps to boost like algorithm stuff apparently, right? And yeah, this has been the 11th episode. I am John.
I'm Dayang.
We are signing out.